The Zereth fleet moved through space like a shadow covering the stars. For years, their ships had crossed galaxies without fear. No world had ever been able to stand against them. They conquered with ease, breaking defenses and placing new flags on every planet they touched. For the Zereth, war was not even a challenge anymore. It had become routine, like a simple march forward. The fleet was made of long, silver ships that shone against the black of space. Their armor was smooth, their weapons large and frightening. Plasma cannons could tear through shields in seconds. Their engines carried them faster than most species could even imagine. The Zereth commanders carried themselves with pride, for they believed their technology and strength made them unbeatable. On the command bridge of the largest vessel, the alien leader, Commander VR, stood tall. His skin glimmered under the lights, and his eyes scanned the system ahead. Another world waited to be taken. He spoke to his officers with calm certainty. This system has no worthy defenders. Our records show only small colonies. We will take it quickly, just like all the others. The officers nodded. None of them questioned him. Why would they? The Zereth had faced hundreds of battles and lost none. To them, victory was not a matter of chance. It was destiny. The fleet slid into the edge of the new star system. They expected to see frightened colonies calling for surrender. They expected weak defense ships ready to be destroyed. Instead, the scanners found something unusual. A single ship floated at the edge of the system, blocking the way. It was not large compared to the Zereth vessels. Its size was almost laughable, and its design seemed simple. But it did not move aside. It held position firmly, as if daring the invaders to come closer. The officers laughed when they saw it. A lone ship, one said with a sneer. Perhaps a scout, left behind to be brave, another added. Commander VR narrowed his eyes. Identify the species. The scanners worked quickly, and the answer came through. It is human. For a moment, the room grew silent. Not because they feared the word, but because it was unexpected. Humans were still considered young in the great expanse of galactic civilizations. They had not been seen as powerful conquerors or mighty warriors. They were known more for their stubborn curiosity, their spreading colonies, and their ability to adapt. The Zereth had not yet fought them directly, though stories had reached them. Some said humans had strong willpower. Others claimed humans would rather fall than bow. But to the Zereth, these were only tales, and tales were no match for firepower. Commander VR smiled slowly. So, humans have sent a ship. How foolish. They think one vessel can delay us. He raised his hand. Send a message. Offer them surrender. If they refuse, erase them. A transmission was sent. The bridge of the Zereth flagship filled with the image of a human face. It was a woman, dressed in a captain's uniform, standing with firm posture. She looked calm, even though she faced an entire fleet. Her dark hair was tied back, her eyes sharp with focus. She did not speak with fear. She did not tremble before the invincible fleet. Commander VR spoke first, his voice deep and confident. Human ship, you face the Zereth fleet. We have conquered worlds far greater than yours. You cannot stand against us. Surrender now, and perhaps we will allow your crew to live. The human captain listened. Then she gave a small, almost amused smile. Her words were steady, spoken with the strength of someone who already knew her choice. You shall not pass. The message ended. The screen went dark. For a moment, silence covered the bridge of the Zereth flagship. The officers exchanged puzzled glances. Had a single human really denied them passage? Had she really chosen to stand in the way of an entire fleet? One officer laughed. This is madness. One small ship cannot stop us. Another added, she must be trying to buy time for others to flee. Should we crush her now? Commander VR raised his hand to silence them. His smile returned, colder this time. Let her try. If she wants to stand in our way, she will be the first example of what happens to humans who resist the Zeroth. Outside, the human warship, the Resolute, held its ground. Its engines glowed softly, its weapons prepared. The crew inside knew what they faced. They knew the fleet before them was large enough to swallow them whole. Yet not a single person suggested retreat. They trusted their captain, and they trusted their ship. The Zeroth fleet began to move closer, their engines bright against the stars. The gap between the invaders and the lone defender shrank. It was like a wave rushing toward a rock on the shore. Most would expect the rock to be broken, scattered into dust. But sometimes, even a rock can shape the tide. As the Resolute prepared for battle, a quiet determination filled the ship. The crew understood something the Zeroth never would. Victory was not always about size or numbers. It was about resolve. And in that moment, the humans showed their greatest weapon, the refusal to step aside. The first clash was coming. The Resolute floated at the edge of the star system, silent but unshaken. Inside the human warship, every crew member moved with calm discipline. They knew the fleet in front of them had destroyed hundreds of civilizations. They knew the odds were against them. But their captain had already spoken for them all with just 4 words, "You shall not pass." Captain Myra stood at the center of the command deck. She was not the tallest person there, nor the loudest. Yet her presence filled the room. Her uniform was simple, her dark hair tied neatly back, but it was her eyes that gave strength to the crew. They were steady, unwavering, the kind of eyes that carried both confidence and burden. She studied the massive alien fleet ahead, their silver hulls shining like blades under the stars. "Status of shields," she asked firmly. "Shields at full power, Captain," replied Ensign Drew, his fingers racing over the console. "Weapons are charged, torpedoes ready." "And the crew?" Myra asked, turning toward her first officer, a calm man named Elias. "They are ready, Captain," Elias said with quiet pride. "No one has asked for retreat." Myra nodded. She had expected nothing less. Humanity had built ships like the Resolute for this very purpose, to hold the line when no one else could. They were not the largest ships in space, nor the most advanced, but they carried something the aliens never understood: human ingenuity and human will. The bridge fell quiet as the Zeroth fleet drifted closer. Their warships were giants, dwarfing the lone human vessel. Rows of plasma cannons glowed along their hulls, preparing to fire. The sight would have crushed the courage of most species. Yet Myra's crew did not falter. They had trained for moments like this, where survival was not promised, but honor was. "Captain," Elias said softly, "they're hailing us again." Myra gave a small nod. On screen, the face of Commander VR filled the display once more. His alien features glimmered under the lights of his bridge. His eyes were filled with arrogance, as though victory was already in his grasp. "Human Captain," he said in a slow, commanding tone. "You are outnumbered and outmatched. Do you truly believe your little ship can stop the Zeroth? Surrender now, and I will allow your crew to be spared." Myra did not move. She stood straight, her voice steady as steel. "This is human space. If you want to take it, you will have to go through us. And we will not move aside." VR tilted his head, studying her. Then he laughed. His laughter echoed across the bridge of the Resolute, but it did not shake the crew. If anything, it made their resolve stronger. "You will regret this choice," VR said finally. "Your defiance will be crushed, and your people will remember your failure." The screen went dark again. Silence filled the human ship. Myra looked around at her officers. "This is where we make our stand," she said. "We hold the line for every colony, every family, every child who trusts us to protect them. They believe in us. Let us show them they are right. Her words lit a fire in the crew. Even the youngest ensigns felt the weight of what she said. None of them wanted to be anywhere else. If the Resolute fell, they would fall together, defending what mattered most. The engines of the Zereth fleet roared across space as they formed into attack formation. Dozens of ships spread out, their weapons powering up in brilliant waves of light. The fleet moved like predators circling a single prey. Yet the Resolute did not retreat. "Prepare to engage," Myra ordered. The crew moved with swift precision. Screens lit up, targeting systems aligned, shield indicators pulsed. The hum of the ship grew louder as its core reached full output. It was as if the ship itself was alive, ready to fight alongside its crew. "Captain," Drew said suddenly, "they are locking weapons on us." Myra's hand gripped the railing in front of her. Her voice was calm. "Then we will show them what it means to face humans. Steady, everyone. Hold your ground." The crew waited as the enemy fleet drew closer and closer. The first blasts of plasma fire shot across the void, glowing lines of destruction racing toward the Resolute. The shields flared brightly as they absorbed the impact, shaking the ship. Sparks flew from a console, but the shield held. "Shields at 90%, Elias reported quickly. "Return fire," Myra ordered. The Resolute answered with its own weapons. Beams of energy and torpedoes streaked out, striking the nearest Zereth vessel. The alien ship shuddered under the impact, a small scar across its flawless silver hull. The damage was minor compared to the size of the fleet, but it was enough to show the Zereth something new: resistance. On the bridge of the alien flagship, Commander Vyar frowned. His officers looked unsettled. One muttered, "They hit us faster than expected. Their aim is precise." Vyar growled softly. "It does not matter. Crush them." Back aboard the Resolute, Myra's crew cheered as their first strike landed. It was not victory, but it was proof that they could fight back. "This is only the beginning," Myra said. "Remember, we do not need to defeat them all. We only need to hold them here long enough for our people to be safe." The crew nodded firmly. No one felt alone. They were part of something larger, something greater than fear. The Zereth fleet pressed forward, weapons blazing like a storm of fire. The Resolute danced among the stars, dodging, firing, refusing to yield. For the first time, the aliens had found a ship that would not run. A ship that stood in their path like a wall of iron. And at its heart stood a captain who had already decided humanity would not bow. The first clash had begun, and neither side would forget what followed. The darkness of space lit up as the first volleys of fire crossed between the Zereth fleet and the Resolute. Bright waves of plasma struck against the human ship's shields, shaking the vessel with thunder that could be felt through the hull. Sparks rained down in the control deck, but the crew stayed focused, moving quickly to repair damaged systems. "Shields at 70%, Elias reported, his voice steady though his hands moved fast across the controls. Captain Myra stood firm in the center of the command deck, her eyes locked on the glowing enemy ships filling the view screen. The Zereth warships moved like a storm, their lines perfect, their formation flawless. Yet Myra's ship was not still. The Resolute swerved sharply to one side, its engines pushing beyond limits, making the plasma shots miss by mere meters. "Fire torpedoes on the left-wing ships," Myra ordered. "Firing," Drew confirmed, pressing down with force. 2 torpedoes shot out from the Resolute, streaking like burning arrows through the void. They slammed against a Zereth cruiser. The enemy ship rocked, its shields flaring as the blast cut deep across its shining hull. It did not fall, but the scar was visible, a mark the aliens did not expect from a ship so small. On the bridge of the Zereth flagship, Commander Vyar leaned forward, his cold eyes narrowing. His officers looked shaken. One muttered, "Their accuracy is unnatural. They strike with precision even while dodging." Vyar's voice rumbled. "They are clever, But cleverness does not win against power. Press harder. Surround them. The Zereth ships obeyed, spreading wide, forming a circle around the lone human warship. Plasma fire rained down like a storm of meteors. The Resolute darted and twisted, its engines straining. The crew worked as one, shouting reports, rerouting power, keeping the ship alive. Shields at 45%. Elias called. Divert auxiliary power from the secondary engines to the shields, Myra said quickly. That will reduce our speed, Drew warned. Better slow than broken, Myra replied. The power shifted, the shields glowed brighter, and the ship took another round of hits without breaking. Then Myra gave another order. Target their lead ship. Let's remind them we are still here. The Resolute fired again, a beam of energy striking directly into the flagship's front shield. The Zereth commander's eyes widened as his own ship shuddered. It was not critical damage, but it was enough to humiliate him. For the first time in countless battles, his flagship had been struck by an enemy smaller than his shadow. Back aboard the Resolute, cheers rang out. The crew did not see it as a victory, but it gave them hope. The ship may have been outnumbered, but it was not powerless. Myra allowed herself the smallest of smiles. That will make them think twice, she said softly. Then she raised her voice. Stay sharp. This fight is far from over. The aliens regrouped, their pride wounded. They launched another heavy wave of fire, far stronger than before. The Resolute shook violently, alarms ringing across the bridge. Panels sparked, smoke filled the air. Direct hit to Deck 3. Elias shouted. Seal it off, Myra commanded instantly. Crew members rushed to follow orders, closing bulkheads, rerouting air systems, and patching holes as fast as possible. No one panicked. Every human on the ship knew their role, and each one carried it out with steady hands. The Zereth expected fear. They expected panic. Instead, they saw the Resolute continue to move, dodging, weaving, and striking back with clever precision. For every barrage the aliens sent, the humans returned fire, hitting weak spots, making the larger fleet stumble. In the middle of chaos, Myra gave calm but bold instructions. Take us into the asteroid field. Elias hesitated. Captain, that's dangerous. The asteroids could tear us apart. Exactly, Myra replied. And they will not follow easily. Humans learned long ago how to fight in dangerous places. Trust me. The Resolute turned sharply, its engines blazing as it raced toward the thick asteroid belt at the edge of the system. Huge stones drifted slowly, shadows tumbling through the void. To the Zereth, the field looked like a deadly trap. Their ships were too large, too rigid in formation to follow easily. Commander Vyar snarled when he saw the human ship vanish into the rocks. Cowards, hiding in the stones. Follow them. Flush them out. But his officers looked uneasy. Their ships were made for open battles, not tight spaces filled with unpredictable dangers. Inside the asteroid field, the Resolute darted between giant stones, its crew tense but steady. The rocks shielded them from the worst of the enemy fire. Myra's plan was working. The Zereth ships struggled to enter, scraping against the rocks, forced to slow down, their formation breaking apart. Now, Myra said, her eyes sharp. Strike at the ones who follow us. The Resolute turned suddenly, firing torpedoes at close range. Two Zereth ships took direct hits, their hulls tearing apart against the rocks. The crew of the Resolute erupted in cheers again. Against all odds, they had damaged the unstoppable fleet. Myra raised her hand, silencing the noise. Do not celebrate too soon. They are learning. They will not underestimate us again. Her words were true. On the alien flagship, Vyar's pride burned with anger. For the first time in his career, he faced resistance that did not break under his power. The humans were not running. They were not begging. They were fighting. He clenched his fist and hissed to his officers. So be it. If they wish for war, they will know the full power of the Zirith. Back on the Resolute, Myra looked out at the stars beyond the asteroid field. Her face was calm, but her heart carried the weight of every choice. She knew the battle had only just begun, and the true test was still ahead. The first clash had ended. The humans still stood. And for the first time, the Zirith knew that victory would not come easily. The asteroid field became the shield of the Resolute. Massive rocks drifted in silence, tumbling slowly through the emptiness of space. To the Zirith fleet, it was a trap too risky to enter. Their massive warships were built for open battle, where their size and firepower dominated. Here, inside the shifting maze of stone, their strength meant little. On the bridge of the alien flagship, Commander Vyar paced. His pride had been bruised. Never before had a single ship scarred his fleet. He glared at the hollow map showing the asteroid field. The human vessel hid inside like a small insect refusing to be crushed. His officers spoke in nervous tones. Commander, our larger ships cannot maneuver safely within the rocks. If we pursue, we risk heavy damage. Vyar's voice rumbled like distant thunder. And if we do nothing, we give them time to prepare. One ship humiliates us while the rest of the galaxy watches. We cannot allow that. Still, hesitation grew among the Zirith crew. They were used to battles that ended quickly. Now they faced something new, a small enemy that did not follow the expected rules. Inside the Resolute, Captain Myra studied her crew with calm focus. The ship was battered, but still alive. The shields flickered, hull plates were scorched, and one section had been sealed off after taking a direct hit. Yet the crew carried no fear in their voices. They worked with determination, fixing systems, patching circuits, and readying weapons again. Report, Myra said firmly. Shields at 50%, Captain, Elias replied. Weapons operational. Engines are running hot, but still stable. Good, Myra said. She turned to the crew. Listen carefully. The Zirith believe strength alone wins battles. They are wrong. We will show them what humans do best, adapt. We use every trick we know. We turn every weakness into strength. That is how we survive. The crew nodded. Each person felt the weight of her words. Humanity had always been outnumbered, outmatched, yet they had survived countless challenges by using creativity. The same would be true now. The Resolute darted deeper into the asteroid field, weaving between spinning rocks. Myra used the field not only for cover but as a weapon. She gave sharp, clever orders. Redirect engines to push that rock into their path. The crew responded quickly, firing small bursts from maneuvering thrusters. A huge asteroid shifted its path, slowly drifting toward the nearest pursuing Zirith cruiser. The alien ship tried to turn away, but its large frame was too slow. The asteroid scraped across its side, tearing metal and snapping weapons from its hull. The alien vessel spun off balance, sparks lighting its surface. Cheers erupted inside the Resolute. Myra allowed herself a faint smile, then raised her hand. Focus. There will be more. Indeed, the Zirith ships pressed forward, though slower and less confident. The asteroid field cut their advantage, and Myra made sure every mistake cost them. Her crew launched surprise torpedoes from behind rocks, striking weak spots in the enemy shields. They switched power between systems faster than the aliens could track, confusing enemy scanners. They feigned retreat, only to turn sharply and strike from an unexpected angle. The Zirith officers grew restless. Commander, this is madness. They fight like no one we have faced. They are not following any clear pattern. Vyar's eyes burned with frustration. They fight like animals, lashing out without order. Yet deep inside, he began to feel the truth. The humans were not wild animals. They were strategists, adapting faster than his proud fleet could keep up. On the Resolute, Myra stood calm, though her body carried the weight of exhaustion. Every decision had to be made in seconds. Every order risked the lives of her crew. But she refused to let doubt show. She knew the Zereth were watching, waiting for weakness. "Captain," Elias said, "we have pushed them back for now. But our ship is wearing down. Shields will not hold forever." Myra nodded slowly. "Then we will hold as long as we can. Every second we stand is another second for our colonies to prepare. We are not just fighting for survival. We are buying time." The crew drew strength from her words. They tightened their focus, their hands moving faster, their hearts steady. Even the youngest crew members, those who had never seen true war, felt their fear turn into determination. Outside, the Zereth fleet pulled back slightly, reorganizing. Vyar glared at the human ship hidden among the rocks. "They are small, but they fight with a spirit that blinds them to their own weakness. Enough games. Prepare the fleet for full bombardment." The alien warships shifted into position around the asteroid field. Their weapons glowed, preparing to unleash waves of fire that would tear the rocks apart along with the human vessel. On the Resolute, the sensors lit up with warnings. Drew's voice shook as he reported. "Captain, they are preparing a mass strike. If they fire into the field, the asteroids will tear us apart along with them." The crew turned to Myra, waiting for her command. She looked out at the rocks drifting slowly past the view screen. Her mind raced. They could not outrun the fleet. They could not take a direct hit. But perhaps there was another way. A calm smile touched her face. "Then we will not wait for them to strike. We move first." The crew straightened, eyes wide but trusting. Myra pointed toward the center of the asteroid field. "Take us deeper. Prepare a counterattack. If they want to destroy this field, we will turn it into their trap." The Resolute powered up its engines, vanishing into the shadows of stone. The Zereth fleet closed in, their weapons ready to fire. Both sides prepared for the next move, and the fate of the system balanced on a knife's edge. The battle was far from over. And the Zereth were beginning to learn that humans were never as simple as they seemed. The alien armada of the Zereth had faced countless enemies before. They always won, and they always advanced without slowing. But now, the single human warship stood in their way, and it was refusing to move. Weeks had passed since the first encounter, and both sides continued to circle each other in silence and tension. Admiral Kaler, commander of the Zereth fleet, was restless. He had expected the humans to retreat after seeing the overwhelming numbers of his ships. Instead, the human warship, called Resolute, stayed calm, unmoving, and patient, as if it had nothing to fear. The presence of one ship against thousands made no sense to Kaler. He could not understand why humans would risk everything in this way. Inside the Resolute, Captain Daniel remained steady. His crew of men and women were alert, ready, and waiting for his command. Daniel knew the Zereth could destroy them if they attacked all at once, but he also knew something the aliens did not. The Resolute was not an ordinary ship. It carried technology that had never been tested in battle, a system created by human engineers in secret. Daniel believed that this moment was why the Resolute had been built. Every member of the crew trusted him. Maria, the ship's communication officer, kept a close watch on alien signals. Thomas, the chief engineer, checked the ship's core every hour. Young pilot Alex, though less experienced than the others, sat ready at the controls, eager to prove himself. They were outnumbered, but none of them showed fear. Instead, there was a quiet confidence among them. The Zereth began to send small attack ships, testing the defenses of the Resolute. But each time, the human crew responded with sharp precision. Their weapons were few, but they fired with perfect aim. Their shields, though not as strong as Zereth armor, adapted after every strike, becoming harder to break. The more the aliens tested, the more they learned something troubling: humans adapted faster than expected. Admiral Kaler grew frustrated. He gathered his officers and demanded answers. Why does one human ship stand against us? Why do they not surrender? What gives them such courage? His officers had no clear answer. Some believed the humans were hiding more ships nearby. Others said the Resolute was a trap. But Kaler began to realize the truth. The courage of these humans was not a trick. It was who they were. Meanwhile, Captain Daniel made a bold move. Instead of waiting for the Zoratha's next strike, he ordered his ship forward, directly into the enemy formation. Gasps filled the Zorath command chamber as the small human ship moved without hesitation into the heart of their armada. Thousands of Zorath warships surrounded it, but the Resolute kept moving forward, shining like a single star in the middle of the dark void. The crew braced themselves as Daniel activated the secret system for the first time. A low hum filled the ship as energy surged through its core. The shields began to glow, changing into something new, something the Zorath had never seen before. Maria whispered, "Captain, it's working." Thomas smiled proudly. Alex gripped the controls tighter, feeling the ship respond with more speed and power. The Zorath launched their first full strike. Energy blasts, missiles, and beams of light struck the Resolute from every direction. But instead of breaking, the ship absorbed the energy. The new system turned the enemy's power into strength for the Resolute. The crew watched in awe as their shields grew brighter with each hit. For the first time, Admiral Kaler felt something he had never felt in all his campaigns: doubt. The human ship was not breaking. It was becoming stronger. His officers looked at him with unease, waiting for orders, but even Kaler did not know what to say. Inside the Resolute, Daniel stood tall. His voice was calm but filled with steel. They thought we would fall easily. They thought humans were weak. But today, we show them the truth. Humanity does not bow. We fight, and we endure. His crew cheered, and their spirits rose higher than ever before. The turning point had come. The aliens began to hesitate, their perfect confidence breaking for the first time. Across their fleet, whispers spread. The invincible Zorath had found something they did not expect: a human warship that refused to yield, a crew that would not surrender, and a people who would rather face the impossible than allow themselves to be conquered. As the Resolute continued forward, the stars around them seemed to burn brighter. The crew knew this was only the beginning. The battle ahead would decide everything, but in their hearts, they were ready. For the first time in history, the Zorath fleet was no longer sure of victory. Humanity had shown them resistance, and the balance of power in the galaxy had begun to shift. The war was no longer just about conquest. It was about pride, survival, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. And the Zorath were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The Resolute had been fighting for hours, darting through the void of space with precision and speed. The Zorath fleet had launched wave after wave of attacks, but the human warship held its ground. Each strike, each maneuver, showed the determination and ingenuity of its crew. They were small against thousands, yet they fought like they carried the weight of an entire galaxy on their shoulders. Captain Daniel stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the surrounding fleet. His body was tense, but his mind was calm. Every move was calculated. Every decision mattered. He knew the ship could not withstand another full assault, yet he also knew retreat was not an option. The lives of colonies and the pride of humanity depended on them standing firm. "Shields at 30%, reported Elias, the first officer. His voice carried a hint of worry, but no fear. "Divert power from the auxiliary engines to the shields," Daniel ordered. "We cannot let them break through now." "Understood, Captain," Elias replied, his fingers flying over the controls. The crew worked together like a single organism. Maria monitored communications, listening for enemy signals. Young pilot Alex guided the ship through narrow gaps between asteroid fragments. Every crew member knew the importance of their role. The human crew did not falter because they trusted each other and their captain. On the Zorith flagship, Admiral Kaler watched the battle unfold with growing frustration. The humans had inflicted damage beyond what he had expected. The Resolute had struck several of his ships, forcing them to retreat or risk collision with asteroids. For the first time in his career, Kaler was beginning to doubt. His fleet had faced thousands of species and never lost. And yet, this one small ship had slowed them, humiliated them, and forced them to think twice before firing. "Commander," one officer said nervously, "the humans, they are not like the others. They adapt too quickly. Their ship seems almost alive, responding to every attack." Kaler's eyes narrowed. "They fight not with power but with determination. And determination can be dangerous. If we continue like this, we risk losing more than just ships. We risk pride." Meanwhile, the Resolute moved deeper into the asteroid field. Daniel had a plan, but it required every crew member to act perfectly. The narrow paths and massive rocks gave them cover, but also left little room for error. Each maneuver needed to be exact, each shot carefully calculated. One mistake could mean the end of the ship. "Captain," Maria said, "the Zorith are forming a full blockade. They are trying to corner us." Daniel nodded slowly. "Let them. They think numbers matter more than strategy. Watch closely. We will show them why humans never surrender." He activated the ship's experimental energy system, the one built to absorb and redirect enemy attacks. The shields flared brighter than ever before. The Zorith fired a coordinated strike, hundreds of beams and missiles hurtling toward the Resolute. The energy system absorbed the impact, converting the destructive force into power for the ship. The Resolute glowed with renewed strength, its small form cutting through the enemy formation like a spark in darkness. Inside the Zorith fleet, panic began to spread. Ships faltered, trying to adjust to the unexpected resistance. For the first time, Kaler realized that brute force alone would not win. His crews had never seen an opponent adapt so quickly, fight so cleverly, and resist with such courage. On the Resolute, the crew cheered quietly as they struck back at the alien vessels. Torpedoes found weak points in shields, energy beams cut through armor. Each attack was calculated, each strike a demonstration of human ingenuity. Daniel knew they could not destroy the entire fleet, but they did not need to. Their goal was survival and defiance. That alone was enough to shake the confidence of the invaders. The Zorith flagship attempted a massive attack on the human warship. Beams of energy converged, creating a wall of fire meant to crush the small ship. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Divert all remaining power to shields and engines. We move together, every system at full capacity." The Resolute surged forward, weaving between enemy fire. The beams struck the asteroid field instead of the ship, detonating rocks and creating chaos among the alien vessels. Smaller Zorith ships collided with debris, their formation breaking apart. The humans were using the environment, their clever tactics, and their technology to turn the battlefield in their favor. Admiral Kaler gritted his teeth. "Enough," he growled. "We cannot continue like this. They are more dangerous than we imagined. If one ship can hold against us, what will happen when more join?" Daniel watched the alien fleet struggle, knowing this was the moment he had been waiting for. He transmitted a message, his voice calm, firm, and clear. "Zorith, hear this. Humanity will not bow. If you continue, you will face not one, but all who stand with us. We fight for our people, our homes, and our pride. Leave now, or risk total failure." The message spread across the fleet like wildfire. Confusion and fear rippled through the Zorith crews. They had never faced an enemy who fought not for conquest, but for defiance. For the first time, the invincible fleet hesitated. The Resolute held its ground, battered but unbroken. The crew had reached the breaking point, and yet they were stronger than before. The Zoroth had underestimated humans, and now they were beginning to pay the price. The turning point had come. The humans were no longer merely defending themselves. They had become a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. The galaxy watched silently, knowing that the battle between the Resolute and the Zoroth fleet was far from ordinary. Humanity had proven that even against impossible odds, determination and cleverness could tip the scales. And the Zoroth were about to learn that sometimes the smallest ship could change the fate of an entire fleet. The battlefield of the asteroid field was quiet now, though tension still hung in the void. The Zoroth fleet had stopped their attack, hesitating in ways they had never hesitated before. Their ships were damaged, some unable to move, and their commanders were uncertain. For the first time, the once invincible armada faced a foe they could not easily defeat. Captain Daniel stood on the bridge of the Resolute, surveying the scattered alien ships. His crew had worked tirelessly, keeping the ship alive through countless strikes. Shields were low, systems were strained, but the human warship remained intact. More importantly, their spirit had not wavered. Every crew member had played a part, proving that determination and intelligence could match strength and numbers. "Status report," Daniel said, his voice calm but firm. Elias, the first officer, spoke quickly. "Shields at 20%. Engines holding. Weapons ready. The Zoroth fleet is retreating. They are uncertain of their next move." A murmur of excitement spread across the bridge. It was not a victory celebration yet, but it was a moment of relief. They had held the line. They had survived when survival seemed impossible. Outside, the Zoroth commander, Admiral Kaler, barked orders to his officers. "Pull back. Withdraw immediately. This battle is not worth further losses." His voice was tied with frustration and disbelief. Never before had he been forced to retreat from a single ship. Never before had his pride been challenged like this. On the Resolute, Daniel transmitted a message across the galaxy. His words were calm, measured, but firm. "Zoroth fleet, hear this. Humanity does not surrender. We fight for our homes and for our people. If you continue your attacks, you will face the same courage again. Leave now and take your fleet with you." The message echoed through space, reaching not just the enemy but the human colonies in the system. Hope and pride spread quickly. Stories of the battle traveled from colony to colony. People who had once feared the Zoroth now felt the strength of humanity. One small warship had stood against an empire and survived. Inside the alien flagship, Kaler glared at the human warship. He had conquered countless civilizations, but the humans had changed his understanding. It was not just the ship that had stopped him, it was the courage and creativity of the people aboard it. One species had proven that intelligence, unity, and willpower could challenge even the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. The retreat of the Zoroth fleet was orderly but tense. Their ships limped away, engines straining from damage, and weapons systems partially offline. The asteroid field had protected the humans, but it had also punished the aliens. Small victories had become large lessons. Every crew member aboard the Resolute watched them leave, knowing that today they had made history. Captain Daniel looked at his crew and allowed himself a small smile. "We held the line," he said softly. "And we showed them what humans can do when we refuse to bow." The crew nodded, pride filling their hearts. Maria checked the communications, ensuring that all messages had gone through. Elias prepared reports on ship systems, making sure repairs would be ready if the Zoroth returned. Young pilot Alex, exhausted but exhilarated, leaned back in his chair, eyes bright with triumph. Each of them knew that this day would be remembered across the galaxy. Back on the Zoroth fleet, Kaler spoke to his officers. "Never underestimate humans again. They are dangerous in ways we cannot predict. One ship, one species, has challenged us and survived. Do not forget this day. His voice carried both warning and unease. The Zoroth had always believed that fear of their power was enough to control other civilizations. Now they understood that courage and ingenuity could defy even the greatest force. As the Resolute emerged from the asteroid field, the stars seemed brighter. The battle was over, but its lessons would echo far into the future. Humanity had defended its home and had proven that even the smallest ship, in the hands of determined people, could change the course of events. Captain Daniel transmitted a final message to the human colonies: "We are safe, for now. But remember this, courage and unity are stronger than any weapon. Stand together, and nothing will stop you." The message spread hope, pride, and determination. Across the colonies, people felt inspired. The story of the Resolute became a legend, told to children and young adults alike. It was a story of courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. Humanity had faced a vast empire and survived. They had turned what seemed like a hopeless situation into a triumph. The Resolute itself became a symbol. Not because of its size, or its technology, but because of what it represented. The ship showed the galaxy that humans were not weak. They were not easily conquered. They could stand against the impossible, and their spirit would not break. Captain Daniel looked out into the darkness of space, his crew behind him. Together, they had changed the way the galaxy would see humanity. The Zoroth had learned a lesson they would never forget. And the Resolute would forever be remembered as the ship that refused to yield, the small human warship that changed the fate of a fleet and the hearts of many. The battle had ended, but the legacy of courage had only begun. Humanity had shown its strength, and the galaxy would never doubt it again.